All right, so I was watching AEW last night, and man, you AEW fanboys are just fucking biased, man. That show was not good at all, man. And I'm like, you got niggas thinking AEW Dynamite puts on more quality shows than Raw and SmackDown? I almost fell asleep. I didn't make it through the fucking main event. I fell asleep in the middle of the fucking show. That show was utterly boring. You're just being biased. If you think AW is better than the WWE, you're just biased. You are in denial. That's all. You're just in denial. Raw's boring. Dynamite ain't that much better, man. What did they show you that was entertaining? I need answers, man. The only reason I was watching the show is because I wanted to watch super thick Jamie Hayter, and I wanted to see how they would book Wardlow. Hell, shit. It seems like somebody might be actually playing my fucking videos. They actually booked Wardlow like a fucking monster. The guy he was in the ring with got no offense in. That was believable. Somebody probably told his ass, hey, bruh, you gotta wrestle like a fucking big man. We don't need another Lance Archer situation. Wardlow didn't do no moonsaults. He ain't do no leapfrogs. I mean, he ain't do no flips, no dives, no kicks, no nothing. He looked like the fucking British Bulldog. He looked like a mini Batista. That's how he should be booked from now on. He needs to be booked like British Bulldog and Batista. You gotta work like a fucking monster. That's the only takeaways I watched that I liked. Overall, that show was utterly boring. Wake the fuck up, man. And look, man, I hate when people ask me dumb questions. They give me dumb suggestions for videos that I would never do, by the way. It's like, don't ask me dumb questions, man. Somebody asked me, I should talk about Chris Benoit more. Like, why? Why? What is there to fucking talk about? See, that's the problem with you wrestling fans. You eat and breathe this shit. You don't look at it. You don't look at these people as human beings. You look at them like a piece of meat. You look at them like they ain't got no lives. You look at them like they have no fucking families. Why would I talk about Chris Benoit being in the Hall of Fame? That's insane. First of all, he would never, nor should he ever, even sniff any kind of Hall of Fame. Okay? I don't love wrestling to the point where I'm gonna ignore him being a fucking murderer. I don't love it that much. Like, I'm not a virgin. Okay? I don't eat and breathe this shit. No. You kidding me? How about this perspective? Let me borrow what Eric Bischoff says. Context is king. What if Chris Benoit was your father and he killed your mother and your little brother? How would you feel? Would you praise him? Would you say he still deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, even though he killed my mother and my brother, right? Would you still think that way? See, you're thinking as a fucking virgin fan. Let me say it again. You are thinking as a virgin fan. I don't care if he was a great wrestler. He's a murderer. Fuck him. There was facts and evidence proving he's a fucking murderer. There was facts and evidence leading up to that day where he killed his family, that it was heading to that direction. He had the brain of a 60-year-old man, if not older. That's what the autopsy said when they scanned his fucking brain. He had brain damage. He was a psychopath. Fuck. Good Lord, man. You want him in the Hall of Fame? He's a murderer. You love wrestling that much where you are praising murderers? So if your father, let's say your real life father, killed your mother and your little brother to the point where, damn, your little brother can't even see the age of fucking 25 now. He couldn't even see the age of 15 years old. He got killed at an early age. He can't even be a grown man now. You want him to be in your Hall of Fame? You want what? So you love wrestling that much? You want a guy who killed his fucking family to be in the Wrestling Hall of Fame? What if he was your dad? Would you still want him in your Hall of Fame? If he killed your mother and your little brother, that little boy was somebody's brother. That little boy was somebody's son, was somebody's grandson, was somebody's cousin. His wife was somebody's daughter, mother, sister-in-law, cousin, auntie. You guys are... I can't, man. Whatever, but let's get back to what this video is really about. So, I bet you wonder, why did I put Big E and Rikishi in the same thumbnail? It's quite simple. Big E is a modern day Rikishi. Let's just be real. He's a modern day Rikishi. And here's why. The product is so watered down. Both rosters are weak on both brands, right? It gets down to the point where the rosters are so weak where Big E is a world champion. That's the equivalent of Rikishi back in the day becoming a world champion. Could you have seen that? I couldn't. They tried. They tried to make Rikishi a top guy when he ran over Stone Cold and he said, "I did it for The Rock." They tried to make him a top guy. Guess what? Fans weren't buying it. Fans weren't believing in it. They couldn't see Rikishi as a top guy because they couldn't unsee all the shit he did with fucking Too Cool. Same thing as fucking Big E. They couldn't unsee it. And still to this day, people think Rikishi was out of place when they put him in that Hell in a Cell match. Remember that match when Taker tossed him off the cell? Still to this day, Rikishi looks so out of place in that match. He was in a match with all the top guys in the company, and they put him in that match, and it didn't look right. After that match, they sent him back down to the mid-card and turned him face because fans weren't buying it. Fans were buying him as a top guy. In order for Rikishi to have been a world champion during those days, all the top 10 guys would have had to have gotten injured. That's the only way he would be a world champion back in those days, where The Rock, Jericho, Angle, fucking Kane, Taker, they would have had to have gotten hurt in order for Rikishi to get a strong push as a world champion. Because back then, the roster was fucking deep with talent. That's what this video is about. That roster was deep because it had shitloads of fucking talent. Guys in the mid card couldn't be main eventers, even though they had the talent, but the roster was so fucking deep. Sometimes they couldn't get TV time. The roster was too deep for a guy like Rikishi to be a fucking world champion. That's like same thing as Big E. The roster is so weak, Big E is a fucking world champion. The guy that was shaking his ass, acting like a goofball these past 7 years, he's a world champion. That's how weak both brands are. So yes, I feel like the brand split needs to end, because the reason the brand split even was a thing back in the day was the roster was so big, it was so deep, you couldn't have everybody on the same show because the roster was so fucking deep. It got to the point where, okay, you can't have Stone Cold and The Rock on the same show. Not anymore. They had too many matches. Now it's over. We gotta make sure these guys are on separate brands now. Okay, we have gotten all the matches out of our system when it comes to The Rock and Austin. Now we gotta put the guys on different shows now. One show ain't big enough for The Rock and Stone Cold. Not anymore. That's why the brand split was a thing. So we can have fresh matchups. Because you can't have multiple top guys on one brand. Because SmackDown will fucking suffer. You gotta separate your top stars. That's why the brand split was a thing. Because the rosters was so fucking deep. Back in 01, 02, 03, those rosters was so fucking deep with talent. Today, the rosters are not deep at all, which means you can get away with not having a brand split. There's nobody on Raw that we are begging to see. When it comes to SmackDown, there's only one guy we want to see, and that's Reigns. And that's a problem. The ratings will go up if there was no brand split. Raw has no top flight superstars. So why is there a brand split? Raw has no draws currently. So why is there a fucking brand split? You know what I'm saying? They have no draws. That's why the brand split should end, based on the fact that there's no more star power. It's like you can't say, oh, one show ain't big enough for Reigns and Big E, huh? What? Hell no. That's what I mean by that's the main reason why the brand split should end. There's no fucking stars left. Who are you dying to feature on Raw that you just can't? There's no stars on Raw where it's like, okay, he's too big a name to be on the same show as fucking Reigns, huh? That's what I mean. Raw has no draws, which means you gotta share you gotta share the spotlight now. You gotta share the fucking spotlight. There's no more larger than life characters. So why is there a fucking brand split? The rosters are not deep enough to cater to two shows. It's like every time Reigns is on Raw, he actually draws some decent numbers. If that was a weekly basis, both Raw and SmackDown will be better off. It's like, why is there a brand split when it's like there's nobody on Raw that we are dying to see? It's like all I see are fucking midcard guys being pushed as main eventers. That's why we should end the brand split. We are forcing midcard guys like Big E to be world champions. And they are already treating Big E like a midcard guy. And here's why. Why are you facing Chad Gable in the middle of the show, in the mid-card, and you are a world champion? Like, what? And I made a video couple weeks back when the day Big E beat Lashley, right, for the title. I put in the thumbnail, ratings, I said Raw ratings will tank. Yes, they have since he became world champion. Now, I'm not going to put all the blame on him, but as a world champion, your blame for the ratings is like maybe, I would say, maybe 45%, maybe. Where it's like, okay, people tune in based on who's the world champion, who's the face of the fucking brand. So Big E has to take some blame for these ratings tanking. So him being in the mid card fighting Chad Gable, that's a major problem. And when it comes to the ratings, I'm worried, man. I'm worried, man. Now Raw getting a 1.6, that's becoming their tier now. That's becoming their ceiling, which is scary to me. That's scary. They are nowhere near going back to 2 million viewers per week, which is sad. They are nowhere near that. It's getting lower and lower and lower. And that's scaring me to the point where, shit, it wouldn't shock me if they eventually go down to 1.4 million. And I don't want that at all. But that's where it's heading. Because Raw has no stars. Big E as world champion, that's like Rikishi as world champion. But worser. Because at least Rikishi was over. Okay? It's worser now. It's like we got women's tag team titles. Like, why? Why do you got women's tag team titles? You have no tag teams. And you release the Iconics. Why? You have no tag teams. You see what I'm saying? That makes no sense. I feel like if there was just one, if they got rid of the brand split, it would save the WWE landscape. I'm gonna say it again. They have no stars. Their only major star is Roman fucking Reigns. That's it. Let's just be real. That's the only star they have is Reigns and Brock Lesnar. When it comes to being a fucking draw. I'm talking about being a fucking draw. Raw, look, Roman, Brock, those are the only fucking draws there. That's a problem. Because what's the point of watching Raw if they have no stars? I'm gonna just watch fucking SmackDown for Reigns. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to go back to, right? If a prime Rock and a prime Austin were drafted people, let me say it again, drafted. I'm not talking about the Attitude Era. I'm talking about post-draft era. Let's say Rock and Austin were in their prime back in 05, 06. They were young in their prime. And they got drafted to Raw. What's the point of watching fucking SmackDown? If Raw has Triple H, Rock, and Austin, what's the point? That's why Raw is suffering. You got the number one guy in the company being booked like a god on fucking SmackDown. What's the point of watching Raw when you got Big E wrestling Chad Gable in the fucking mid-card? That's not attractive to me. That won't attract a casual fan. That's a problem, bruh. Why is Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens main eventing Raw, and you got your world champion Big E in a singles match? It was a competitive match with Chad Gable, a tag team wrestler, in the mid card, and I'm supposed to think Big E is a world champion. That is supposed to draw me to your show when you got your world champion Big E in the mid card fighting Chad Gable. Dude, Big E is a IC champion cosplaying as a world champion. Let's just keep it 100,000%. That's a major issue. When you got a brand split with no stars, that means you gotta force guys like Shinsuke, Balor, Big E. You gotta force these guys to be main eventers. You gotta force Kevin Owens to be a fucking main eventer. But in hindsight, he should be a mid-card guy fighting for the IC title. That's why there should be no brand split. Because you are forcing mid-carders to be world champions. You are forcing mid-carders to be main eventers. That's like Val Venus being a world championship. That's like Val Venus being a main eventer. Just imagine if the Attitude Era was so fucking weak where Val Venus had to be a fucking main eventer. You don't see Stone Cold fighting fucking Billy Gunn. Right? Like, why? He's fucking Billy Gunn. You see what I'm saying now? You see, back in 05, 04, 03, the WWE was stacked. They were deep. They had no choice but to have a fucking brand split. That roster was growing deeper and deeper and deeper with fucking talent. Now, they have no talent. They have no stars, just one star. They have only one drawing star that we care about, and that's Reigns. We don't care about nobody else. The majority of the audience don't care about nobody else besides Reigns. And the ratings prove that. Okay, don't give me no names. The only draw on that roster is Roman fucking Reigns. That's it. Which means they gotta kill this brand split because you are forcing mid-carders to fight Reigns now. There's no way a guy like fucking Kevin Owens, Cesaro, Finn Balor should be main eventing with Roman fucking Reigns. These guys are mid-card guys. You are forcing them to be main eventers because your roster is fucking weak at the current moment. Now, if Balor and Cesaro was on both shows in the mid-card and they eventually worked their way up to the main event, then okay, I can see that. I won't have no problem with that because at least they worked their way up. If the brand split ended, the roster will look better on both shows. But the fact that Raw and SmackDown are different brands, that's a problem. Because now Raw is weak as fuck. SmackDown is weak as fuck when Roman Reigns takes when he takes a vacation. He said it. That's the issue. So point is, in the fucking brand split, based on the fact that your roster is too weak to have separate shows with a separate roster, it's too fucking weak. Dude, Raw has a roster that looks similar to Sunday Night Heat. SmackDown has a roster that looks similar to fucking WWF Shotgun. Okay? That's a problem. That's it. I'm done.